I mean, this one was more challenging because we really did, versions of nighttime parties on the first one, and we kind of we really did, I think, really good versions of a nighttime party on the first one. So it was hard to figure out what the new kind of party would be, and that's why our big party sequence in this one, I've now become an expert on street parties, is a daytime party. It's a tailgate. Just for that reason, we wanted to try to do something different, and so that seemed like the thing to do. So yeah, it's like that daytime parties are, I guess with Fast and Furious gets a new car each time, so that's our we get a new party. Yeah, I mean, I would say that the kind of emotional thing that they're going through is relatable to men or women. Like in the first movie, Zach's scared to graduate from college. That's something, whether you're a guy or a girl, that's something everyone's gone through. And this is the same thing. It's about 18-year-olds getting to college and being scared to forge their own identity. So it was important to us that it be emotionally honest, and that aspect of it was easy to write to, since it was, again, that's something everyone's gone through, no matter your gender. However, the specifics, I spend a long time, with all the actors I work with, and this is true on all the movies, like kind of interviewing them and making sure that like everything makes sense and that is stuff that they're comfortable saying and talking about, and that just seems honest and truthful. And so I did that with Beanie and Chloe and Kiersey. We sat and kind of had a long session where we talked through everything. And then we also had two writers on set, Amanda Lund and Maria Blasucci, who are really funny comedy writers, just so that when we were pitching jokes, we weren't, there's kind of nothing more annoying when girls in a movie just talk like guys, and so we wanted to make sure it all made sense. And so if you read early drafts of the script, you would be like, what is going on here? This is not the way women speak. What is this? And a lot of that just kind of naturally fell out during our process. Yeah. I mean, I think that it's actually in the first movie it was pretty much 50-50 in terms of the people who came, in terms of the split between men and women. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I just try not to think about that and just try to tell the story that the movie calls for. And so, we very quickly were like, it probably should be a sorority. Like, that seems like the funny idea. That seems different. And then we kind of just followed where that story took us, and organically took us to this kind of female empowerment story and feminist story that just naturally led us there. And hopefully, I think it's the kind of thing where guys are going to show up because it is a hard comedy, and Dave, Seth has a big, guy audience. I think Zach does too at this point. And it'll hopefully be the kind of thing where women are like, I also want to see that, versus I will go to that because you want to see that. So. Right. Yeah, I think there's the House Bunny, but I'm not sure how many parts there are. The House Bunny is the one which is a really funny movie. Yeah, I mean, our main thing was just when I was in college, the women that I went to college with drank just as much as the guys. They threw up just as much. Their rooms were often grosser than our rooms, so it wasn't because of the hair. There was a lot more hair. But it was we just wanted to reflect reality, and I think that a lot of times, a lot of times it's changed a lot recently, which is good, or over the past 5-10 years. But a lot of times women in movies are either they're saints, or they're the nag, or they're held up to a higher standard, and we didn't want that. We wanted it to be reflect reality, which is their kids trying to figure their stuff out. When kids are trying to figure their stuff out, chaos ensues. Oh yeah. I mean, there was the initial idea that Sorority's Camp Party wasn't in the draft, but the natural process of writing a movie, you write just 800 drafts. We've written every version of this movie at this point, so that wasn't a first idea, none of the things, we did a table read where we had Women Aren't Allowed to Party in it. We did a table read that was very different, and we didn't have the escrow plot in it, and the table read just didn't work at all, and we ended up completely rewriting the movie before we shot, and that's kind of the chaos of making a movie. So that, so it's kind of, and then the natural kind of evolution of a script as you go to shoot. So that's kind of the normal thing of adding. But yeah, it wasn't there at the beginning, And yeah, one of their interns kind of brought up that idea, and we were like, well, that has to be our plot. I mean, in fact, it's so ridiculous and seems so fake that I actually shot Selena Gomez look into camera and say, like, no, seriously, guys, this is real sororities camp party. But it wasn't really, it broke the reality of our movie, so we couldn't use it, but it did. And then, yeah, as for the gay subplot, you know, on the first movie, at the junket, one of the reporters asked me why I'd never had a gay character in any of my movies, and I was like, that is bad. I don't know. I literally don't have an answer for you. And so it seemed to make sense in this movie. There was a lot of homoeroticism in the first movie between Dave and Zach, and it just was like Dave's character's probably gay. Like if you watch that movie, he seems like he might be in love with Zach. We all are a little bit in love with Zach, but it's hard not to be. He's a beautiful specimen. But it just seemed to make sense, and it didn't seem to be, you know. And so, and then it was really important to us that the joke of that not be, haha, he's gay, but that it just be an emotional thing that they're going through, that his friends. So I actually, you know, I spoke to a comedy writer friend of mine who's gay, and just sent the script to him and had him pitch jokes on it, and also make sure that we weren't accidentally being offensive in any way, or, you know, again, and when I say offensive, I mean, like, we just wanted to tell an honest story, that we weren't being dishonest in any way. So, yeah, I mean, I think, like, it wasn't really just because they have, what was hard about it was that in a comedy it's always easier to make stuff funny when the goal of the characters is stupid. So like the goal of Zach and his friends in the first movie is stupid, like they just want to party, so it's easy to like kind of pull the rug out from under them constantly and make it really hard for them. And in this movie it was a little harder because the sorority sisters, the women's goal is like noble. It's a noble goal, and they need to ultimately succeed. At the same time, you want Seth and Rose to succeed and keep going through escrow. You don't want, you know, so it was a constant debate among all of us, like, well, yeah, we want the sorority to succeed, but we also don't want like the family to like lose all their money and go bankrupt, so a group of kids can party. So it was like, that was the debate that we had, and we finally figured out this ending that kind of married everything together. What was interesting is we had a whole subplot, like the joke of the Neighbors movies is that everyone is stupid except Lisa Kudrow, and like that's our goal. And she's given up, like she's smart, but she's given up a long time ago. And we had a joke that none of them, that the sort of women are calling themselves feminists but don't understand what feminism is. And they're constantly saying they're feminists, but they don't get it really. And we played it, and the guys in the audience just rejected that idea. Almost like, as soon as they heard the word feminist, they were just like, they didn't understand. They were just like, "You're attacking me," with the vibe. The women didn't. They thought it was funny. So, but that was something we had to strip out just because people didn't get it. But beyond that, it wasn't hard to figure it out. It was 1 hour long take. They went, and we rolled out, and they kept rubbing it on him. So yeah, no one objected to that. I'll say that, no one objected. So yeah, that was, you know, we shot that. What was funny is that pork shoulder was a real. My prop guy was awesome. Explained to me that you can't fake meat. It's really hard to fake meat, and so he had what we ended up having was a real pork shoulder with that we injected with baby oil. So Zach ended up smelling like roast pork that day, which was kind of funny. But in terms of Neighbors 3, I mean, we have to see how this one does. We haven't really talked about it and what it could possibly be. But you know, I love everyone that I love the producers on this. I love the cast. It's a great group of people. It's why I wanted to make another one. So to have the opportunity would be great. But we haven't talked about it yet, really.
Thank you.
No, we just thought it was funny. That's funny. I actually didn't think about that fan base. Yeah, we just thought it'd be funny, and it seemed. What was funny is that I was like, well, it's a comedy, so maybe the joke should be that he's bad at dancing, and Zach, everyone was like, no, he's good at dancing. That doesn't make any sense. So that was our. But yeah, no, we just thought it'd be funny. I guess I didn't realize it was a franchise. Yeah, I mean, this is the first, you know, on the Muppets I was a writer, like an EP on that, so like I wasn't quite as in charge of it, and also the Muppets is more serialized, like you know, it's closer to like a Marvel movie in a weird way, where it's like it's a group of characters that have like, you can tell different stories, you know, their genres. This is the first like proper sequel, like even Get Him to the Greek, while a spin-off of Sarah Marshall. Like, for a long time, it wasn't a spin-off, but then we were just like, it's too weird to have Russell play a different rock star, to have it play a different, so we just made it a spin-off just because it just made more sense logically. But this is the first proper sequel, and like, that I've been in charge of as a director. And it's really hard, you know, sequels are really, really hard in a way to understand. I thought it would be like the second episode of a television show, but it's have a whole TED talk I can do about why sequels are hard. Sequels are hard. Especially if you don't want it to suck. And like the beginning of this movie, Seth and I, our main goal is for this not to suck. So if you want it to suck, then it's easy. They're like, they're neighbors in Hawaii, and we just all go to Hawaii and shoot movies in Hawaii for a while. Which maybe that would be the third one. Yeah, well, the big difference is that it's with a comedy, and I think it's true of horror too. Is that you have to have the same premise. So it'd be like, you know, you have all the same characters, but you have to have the same premise. So it'd be like in the New Girl pilot, Zooey Deschanel moves in with a few roommates. It would be like if the second episode of the New Girl was she moves in with some more roommates, and that's like that would be like that's the premise of the show. So it's not, you know, it's very, and so with this it has to be like nightmare neighbors move in, and so we had to figure out how to tell an original story, or a story that has that premise, but has enough of original story that is still satisfying for an audience. Oh yeah, no, it's great. I mean, comedy is inherently collaborative, and you know, on the first Neighbors, like, you know, we all ended up writing and rewriting it together. Seth's an incredible writer. I've written with him since Undeclared. Like, we have a really old kind of relationship, and I've kind of always written with the actors, you know, like whether it be like Jason Segel and Sarah Marshall, or on 5 Year Engagement, or, you know, Get Him to the Greek. I like workshop that script forever with Russell and Jonah Hill, and so it's always ends up being collaborative, and you're always doing some form of writing with the my approach is always to write and work with the actors. I wouldn't know how to do it. You know, there's certain writers who just write their thing and then actors act it, but I wouldn't actually know how to do that. So I can't really separate it from that. And he also knows a lot about weed and weed paraphernalia, which is a part of the story. So like, I'll be like, "What is the weed thing here?" You know, so he'll pitch 3 weed things. In addition to many other things, that just happens to be it. Yeah, she's just like such a talented actress. I've loved her since, you know, I saw her in Kick-Ass. You know, Hugo, she was amazing. And I wanted someone who was close to the age, you know, of freshman, you know, and she's 18, or she was 18 when we shot it. She might be 19 now. But it's hard to find, and she's also little but scary and aggressive. So you need that too. Like, you need someone who's actually going to scare Seth. And so all of those things, she's just an awesome, great actress. And I think like that was and very funny and very appealing. And, you know, I mean, she's a movie star, you know. So I think like, and for a movie star for a reason. So I think that's why we were lucky enough to get her and kind of loop her into the project from an early stage, and make sure that, and she had a friend who was in a sorority who we also like got information from and stuff like that. So yeah. Hi Seth.
Hi Nick.
How are you? We're friends on
Don't
set.
talk to me.
Yeah, I mean, it was a long casting process, and you know, it was the same thing as the first one, where my main thing is I want these people to be warm. Because they're technically the villains if you're looking at the story structure, but they're not. I don't believe in villains in movies. I think in comedies, other genres need them, but in comedies, I think villains are uninteresting. And so you need to understand where they're all coming from. You need to root for them. And so it was the same thing as the guys in the first movie. I wanted a group of women who seemed like they'd be friends, who seemed warm, who each brought a different kind of comic energy to the parts. So as soon as like Beanie Feldstein came in, I didn't even realized she was Jonah's sister, and she was so funny.
Oh, she really?
She's Jonah Hill's sister.
I thought she was the male counterpart.
Yeah. She's Jonah Hill's sister. Yeah, I didn't know. She was really funny. And then I really enjoyed Kiersey Clemens in Dope. She was great. Yeah. She kind of more than anyone is like really playing a character in the movie. You know, she's not a lot like Beth, and she's kind of creates this whole character, which is something I tend to build. The characters are kind of around the personalities of the people in the movie, you know, due to my own laziness. But she kind of brought her own character, and then we cast Clara Mammoth, who's great, and Nora Lund, who's Aquafina, who's this rapper, as other parts, and they're really funny too. So.
All right, thanks everyone.
Thank you.